Well, musicians like Lenny Kravitz, Steven Tyler, or Vince Neil love his designs, and his costumes have appeared on Hollywood productions like Alita and The Fear of the Walking Dead. And now rock star designer Tod Waters is putting his work up for display for his fellow Houstonians to see at an art show happening this weekend. He joins us in studio for a look at his incredible career. Tod, welcome to Houston Life. It's nice to see you.
You too,
and we were
thanks.
just chatting about moving to Los Angeles, which you did in 2000.
Yes, sir.
Tell us what that was like for you, because a lot of people move to LA with big dreams.
Right.
You were one of the lucky few who actually, you were able to work in the industry. How did you make that happen?
Well, it's really weird. I moved there with no clue. Like, I just drove my friend's truck. He's like, hey, help me move out there. So I moved out there and then tried to start a band. That didn't really work. But I started making pants, and like that, somehow that turned into working for Britney Spears, like in the first year.
Well, okay, so that's a pretty incredible rise to fame to have a
Yeah.
client like Britney Spears. You started something in 2001, Junker Designs.
Yes, sir.
What was the mission of Junker Designs? This was clothing, edgy clothing?
Yeah, it was edgy clothing. I was like, I needed pants that I wanted to wear, and I needed t-shirts that I wanted to wear, so I was just doing it myself. And people were like, hey, man, I like that. And they were going to give me money that would pay my rent. Like, I was just like, this is great. I'll do this.
This is really cool.
Yeah.
Like, I made this and you're paying me for it.
Yeah.
So once Britney Spears was wearing your wardrobe, did that open a lot of doors for you? I can imagine you were a
Yeah.
hot ticket.
Yeah, because I think, like, you know, a stylist talks to another stylist. So it was Britney Spears, Christina Aguilera, Pink, Shakira, like all like in the first like year and a half or 2 years, because they all talk to each other.
Interesting as well, the fact that you were able to design clothing for celebrities while at the same time working for TV and film. That's kind of a rare combination of skills. How did you
Yeah.
transition into film and TV?
Well, the thing that happened is Robert Rodriguez, the film director, I found out was buying jackets that I was selling. So I had to figure out, I was like, I need to get a hold of this guy. So it was like a weird story where we had to call the makeup artist, and the makeup artist was talking to Jessica Alba, and Jessica Alba called Robert, and I was like, can you get his number? And then I called him, and I was like, I want to work on movies. And like, that's how I worked in movies.
And that's incredible. I feel like it underscores this idea that it's not what you know, it's who you know. And
Yeah.
your work spoke for itself, and word of mouth really helped you in the biz.
Yeah, yeah.
How do you describe your style? Because I know it seems like a lot of your work is based on collage, where you're using different materials and you're sort of putting them all together to create the magic. When did you realize you had this skill?
I'm not even really sure, but I think it happened from building like model tanks when I was little, like tons of little parts to make a big part. And then when it moved to clothes, like I couldn't afford to buy like leather, so I had to get scraps of leather and then put scraps of leather together, and it became like an assemblage or a collage. And that's just how I work it. And you can see these pieces have like a lot of tiny little doodads all over them.
And we're seeing some images. This is some of your work from over the decades.
Yes.
You have a show that's coming up, and this
Yeah.
is essentially a one-of-a-kind show that's been curated for several decades as an artist and clothing designers.
Yeah.
So Houstonians or anyone in the Houston area can come out and see this work up close.
Yeah, Hardy and Ant Studios. It's owned by artists. I'm like super stoked. I've known the girl that runs the place there for probably 30 years, named Claire. And I have an archive, and I've never shown it. So it's the archive of a bunch of stuff that I've had laying around.
How did this show come about? Because it seems like for a lot of artists or designers, it might seem, I don't know, kind of everyone wants to have a place in their career where their show is on display and can be celebrated. So was this your idea or someone else's idea?
This is my idea because I felt like if I didn't make myself do it, I would just keep putting it off. So I was like, okay, I have to do it. I have to call. I have to set up a date, and then I have to make it happen. I can't have any excuses, because my normal excuse is, well, I have another job. I have work, and I'm just like, I'm not doing that. I got to do this show. Yeah.
It's incredible that you're doing it. Now, the kimono, I think we can take a shot of the kimono that's right over your shoulder. Some of our viewers, it's not this one right here, but it's the one behind you. Some of our viewers may recognize this kimono from...
This is a Vince Neil kimono. They may recognize it. There's like the nasty cousin to this one is on tour. So what I do is I make two pretty similar pieces, and I like to show him two things, and then he picks one. And then one, like I said, I'm trying to build my archive. So this is like kind of like the nasty cousin to the one that's on tour right now.
It's really cool. And typically when you're designing for television or for film, do you retain ownership of these items?
No, it kind of depends on the paperwork that you sign, but for television and film, it's all owned by the production company. As far as like the way that we work with the rock stars and stuff, they just send in an invoice and I make the stuff, and we're talking with Vince right now about possibly doing a clothing line. So the intellectual property stays with me. As long as I can sell it again, as long as I don't put the word Motley Crue on top of it.
I see.
Yeah.
I see. Well, your work speaks for itself. Tod Waters, thank you so much for stopping by. And we had our event details up on the screen. A reminder to our viewers, this is happening Saturday, April 1st from 4 to 10 p.m. at the Hardy and Nat Studios. The soft opening there is the day before, March 31st from 7 to 10 p.m. And for a link to RSVP to attend this free event, you can visit the Scene on Houston Life section of our website, houstonlife.tv. Tod, it's great to meet you. Thanks once again.
Man, my pleasure. Thank you.
And congrats on your career.
Thank you very much.
Really cool stuff.